Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
In the chapter 2, text 66, Krishna has mentioned that Nasti Buddhir Ayuktaksya Nachayuktaksya Bhavana Nachaba Bhaida Santir Asantasya Kutasukam. When a person is connected in the Supreme, in Krishna consciousness, then automatically he will attain the transcendental intelligence, spiritual intelligence, or steady intelligence, and he will have a steady mind, and automatically he will have peace in his life, and automatically he will have happiness in his life. So in the chapter 2, text 66, Krishna inquire Arjun, question Arjun. He says, if one is not connected to the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, neither you will have a spiritual intelligence or steady mind, without which there is no question of peace. Without peace, where is the question of happiness? The entire world at the present moment are seeking for happiness in their life. And the happiness is very easy, very simple, and the formula to attain the happiness is very easy. Simply one has to be connected to Krishna consciousness, and that connection itself is very easy. By chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Raga Dvesa, Vimuktastu, in Visayan Indriya Charan, Atma Vasir Vidyatma, Prasadam Adhigacchati. By the chanting of the holy name, automatically our attachment and aversion of this world, our senses are coming under control. And when our attachment, we are free from the attachment of this world, and we are free from all kinds of enviousness in this world, when our senses are controlled, Prasadam Adhigacchati means we are able to attain the mercy of Krishna. And in the second verse, in this chapter 2, and text 65, Krishna goes on to say that Prasadam Sarva Dukkhanam Anirasyo Pajayate, that once when a person attains the mercy of Krishna, and automatically he becomes very satisfied in his life, and automatically the spiritual intelligence are established within him. And with the simple process, because everyone are looking for happiness, happiness is not possible if their mind is not peaceful. There is no question of peacefulness if their mind is not steady. There is no question of keeping the mind in steadiness if the intelligence is not purified by Krishna consciousness. And intelligence cannot be purified without being connected to the Supreme Lord, because every one of us in this world, we are eternally part and parcel of Krishna. The very conclusion of the Vedas is that Bhagavan Sambandha Bhaktir Abhideya Aya Prema Prayojana Vedathena Vastukaya. There are only three things has been established, has been concluded as the essence of the Vedas, that we and the Supreme Lord has got an eternal sambandha. We have got an eternal relationship with Krishna. And the second thing is that now we are yet to act on that eternal relationship, how to establish the eternal relationship, and ultimately by the connection of our sambandha with Krishna, then we are able to attain the prema puman artho mahan, that the highest purpose of human life to attain the love of Krishna and return to his world. Automatically it can be done provided that we are connected with Krishna. When Sanatana Goswami have met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sanatana Goswami was in the minister position in the Nawab Hussein's government. When Sanatana Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he inquired from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Apanara ita ita kichuna ijane gramme vihare pandito tai satyamani ke hame kene amaya jara tapatraye. My dear Lord, kindly tell me who am I, who am I, who am I? Some other people in command, people in public, they're addressing me as a very learned person and sitting in a very high position and very learned, educated person. But in fact, I do not know who am I. I don't want to take birth. I'm taking birth. I'm don't want to grow old or become diseased or die. But somewhere or other, I'm forced to undergo all these miseries of life. Please kindly tell me, who am I? And to that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jivare Swarupai Krishnare Nityadas, Krishnare Tatata Sakti Beda Beda Prakash. That every living entities in this world, they are eternally part and parcel. They are servant of Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Chadiya Kabunaya Sravanadi Chuda Chitte Karaya Udaya. That this position as the eternal servant of Krishna can be re-established by the connection of Krishna consciousness, by hearing about the glories of the Lord, by chanting of the glories of the Lord. Immediately a person can be re-established in his real position as the eternal servant of Krishna. Because we no need to look around outside of ourselves to re-establish the connection. The connection is already within our own heart. The whole material world at the present moment are going through so many kinds of difficulties, tests and tribulation, confusion, and all kinds of problems. Simply because people in the material world simply have become mad after the materialistic way of life, and their emotion has become very unstable. Everybody acting according to their own emotion, but their emotion in the material world, when their emotion are centered around the materialistic way of life, and their emotion become unstable. So the Rupa Goswami says that there is the permanent emotion in the heart of the living entities called Sthayi Bhava. A Sthayi Bhava means permanent emotion. When our activities are centered around Krishna, and it is known as the permanent emotion, very steady emotion. But when our activities are centered around our family and friends of the material world, then it's become very unstable emotion. Unfortunately, because the activities of the people in this world are mainly centered around for bodily satisfaction, so their emotion has become very unstable. So now Rupa Goswami says, to stabilize this emotion, to re-establish the permanent emotion, the Sthayi Bhava within our heart, he says we have to be connected with the Supreme Lord in Krishna consciousness. And the permanent emotion of Sthayi Bhava, and they have got a Mukhya Rati and they got a Gauna Rati. Mukhya Rati means a primary level, and Gauna Rati means a secondary level. The primary level is the Santa, Santarasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya, Madhurya Rasa. And the Gauna Rati, the secondary level of connection is that it is called Asya, Hadbuddha, Virya, Karuna, Raudra, Bibhishaka, and Bhayanaka. These are the Mukhya Rati and Gauna Rati. This is our permanent emotion, Sthayi Bhava, within our heart. And Sthayi Bhava, within our heart, the permanent emotion, when it is connected with Krishna, our life are connected, our senses are connected with Krishna, and it becomes a very wonderful emotion. The highest happiness in the world we are able to attain by having a permanent emotion in our heart. Actually, the living entities in the material world has got two kinds of emotion, because there are two kinds of being in the material world. That has been said in this chapter 16, text 16, Dva Bhutau Sargau Lokesmin, Daivam Asuram Evacha, Daivam Vitaratas Proktam Asuram Partha Mechrino. all the created being in this world, there are two kinds. One is the Deva and another one is Asura, divine and demoniac. And Daive Sampat Vimukshaya Nibandaya Asure Mata Masucha Sampadam Devam Abhijatosi Pandava. In the chapter 16, text 5, Krishna says that the emotion, the quality of the Daiva, divine, it is conducive for the liberation, and the quality of demoniac is the meant for bondage of this material life. In this way, the two emotions in the heart is called Komalam and Karkasa. Karkasa means the heart is like a rock, and Komalam means the heart is like butter, very soft. So to enjoy the real peace and happiness of our life, to attain Krishna consciousness, our heart has to become a soft like a butter, or soft like a wax, or soft like a nectar. Just like when you got a diamond, it's not easy to melt the diamond but any amount of fire. But when you got a wax in your hand, and the wax are easily melted by just simply by the sunlight, no need any fire. So in this way, that the problem of the material world is that people are having all kinds of difficulties because their heart is like a karkasa, like a rock. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing the holy name so that the heart can become komalam, it can become soft, then easily it can attain by the chanting of the holy name. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned about this thing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there are 4 kinds of anarthas in the heart of the living being. And it is called, number 1, it is called Hridaya Dhaurbalyam. And number 2 is Aparada. Number 3 is Asat Trishna. And number 4 is Tattva Vibhrama. There are 4 kinds of anarthas are there in the heart of the living being. And number 1 is Hridaya Dhaurbalyam. Hridaya Dhaurbalyam means when we are coming to this world, we are connected to this material world. Automatically, things which are not related to Krishna. Number 1, anarthas. Number 2 is that automatically we have got a deceitful tendency, cheating propensity. And number 3 is that we are become very envious of the progress of others. And number 4 is that we always desire for name and fame in the material world. This is one kind of anarthas within our heart. It is called Hridaya Dhaurbalya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there are another kind of anarthas there. Number 2, it is called Aparada. That automatically we want to offend the holy name of the Lord. Automatically we want to offend the deity form of the Lord. Automatically we offend the devotees of the Lord. And number 4, we are always intend to offend the other living entities. This is the second anartha. And the third anarthas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, is called Asat Trishna. When we are in the material world, that we are totally desire for the worldly enjoyment here. While we are living in the world, we want to enjoy the materialistic way of life. And number 2, when we die, we are seeking for the heavenly enjoyment. And number 3, we are always seeking for different kind of mystic powers. And number 4, we are intending for the liberation. This is the third kind of anarthas. And the fourth kind of anarthas, the fourth anartha is called Tattva Vibhrama. When we are born in the material world, we are ignorant about our own real identity, our swarup. And number 2, we are ignorant about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And number 3, we are not knowing about the sadhana bhakti or prema bhakti. And number 4, we also do not know what is unfavorable for the path of Krishna consciousness. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said these are the 4 anarthas in the heart of the living entities. And these 4 anarthas lead to 4 other problems. 6 other problems that is called kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. The 4 anarthas in the heart, it leads to kama, different kinds of desire, krodha, anger, lobha, greediness, moha, illusion, mada, madness, matsarya, enviousness. So the 4 anarthas in the heart creates these 6 kinds of enemy within us, and these 6 kinds of enemies creates another 6 kinds of problem of our life. It is called sokha, and number 2 called moha, number 3 called kusur, number 4 called pipaya, and number 5 is called jara, number 6 is called mrityu. That means the 4 anarthas in the heart creates the 6 kinds of enemies for us, and the 6 kinds of enemies creates another 6 problem for us, that is distress, and number 2 is illusion, and number 3 is anger, number 4 is thirst, and number 5 is old age, and number 6 is death. So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we are repeatedly taking birth in this world and dying and taking birth and dying, going through all kinds of problems simply because there is a great anarthas in the heart. And for that reason, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming. He said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Maha Davagna Nirvapanam. That the real problems of the living entities are within the heart, because now the Sthayi Bhava, the permanent emotion within our heart, is already disturbed. It has become very unstable due to our connection other than Krishna in the world. So due to this problem, that all these different kinds of enemies and miseries of life have come to in our life. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bring the very simple process. Even Vishwanath Chakravarti have mentioned that there are 4 kinds of problems that living entities has created. That their miseries, their anarthas are coming from the sinful activities of their previous life, the pious activities of their previous life, the imperfect performance of their bhakti, and the offenses in the chanting of the holy name. In this way, that has created a lot of anarthas in the heart of the living entities. Sometimes we may wonder where this problem have arisen from. That all the problem have arisen from the material world, because when Lord Brahma has created the material atmosphere, when the living entities to be sent to the material atmosphere, and Lord Brahma has created a 5 kind of ignorance in the material world. For the living entities to live in the material world, to go through the enjoyment of the material world, and there has to be some sort of ignorance in his life. Anybody who has got intelligence, they've got proper understanding. Eyi samprasaja bhoga dukkha yonya evate adiyantavantu kaunteya naktesu ramate buddha. In the chapter 5 of Gita, text 22, Krishna says, an intelligent person never take part in the source of miseries of this material world. The material world is a very source of miseries. And because Lord Brahma, when he created the 5 ignorance in the material world, we can get a more details information from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, Text 2. If we read through the slokas and the purport from there, we will have a better understanding. There are 5 kinds of ignorance has been created in this world by Lord Brahma. And the sloka says that Sasar Jagre na Sasar Jagre Nida Tamistram Anda Tamistram Adikrit Mahamoham cha Moham cha Tamasajjana Virtaya. That it says that there are 5 kinds of ignorance are there in the material world. One is called tamas, and second is called moha, the third is called mahamoha, and the 4th is called tamisram, and the 5th is called andatamisram. Tama means that we are not knowing our own identity, our own real sorrow, we are not knowing while we are in the material world. And the moha means that we are very much influenced by the bodily concept of life. And the Mahamoha means that we have got this tendency to claim the proprietorship of the material world, ownership. And the Tamisra means that anger due to the frustration of this world. And under Tamisra means the fear of death. When Lord Brahma sent for the living being to this material world, and he has created the 5 ignorance in this material world. So these 5 ignorance have caused a lot of anarthas for us in the material world. So that is why Advaitacharya was very worried about the status of the people of this world. He said, Kehe papa, kehe punya, kare visaya bhoga, bhakti gandha nahi, yate yaya bhavaroga. Advaitacharya says that he is trying to gather people to establish Krishna consciousness within their own heart. He said, Gita Bhagavata ke Acharya Gusani, Jnana Karma Nidhi Kare Bhaktira Baddha. That Advaitacharya trying to help the people by teaching them pure Krishna consciousness from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. But somewhere or other, people were not very interested in that part of the educational system. So, seeing the miserable condition of the people, Advaitacharya, through his own bhakti, he has invited the Lord to come again. Say Tulasi Dalamatrena Jalasya Chulukenava, that by the simple process of just offering little bit water with Tulasi with great devotion, Advaitacharya called Krishnera Avahana Kuro Sangena Hunkara, with the great voice he called the Lord to come. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a very simple process by we can see Krishna, we can communicate with Krishna, we can attain the lotus feet of Krishna simply by the great devotion in ourselves. And the devotions are already in our heart in the name of Sai Bhava, a permanent emotion of Mukhya Rati and Gauna Rati. And simply by calling Krishna by his name with great devotion, easily one can attain Krishna consciousness. That is the proof that Advaitacharya have called the Lord to come. And the Lord is very kind. He has come to the world. Chaitanya Shimmera Navadvipa Avatara Shimma Griva Shimma Virya Shimmera Hunkara. In the similar way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu roaring like a lion. Just like Advaitacharya, he roared like a lion to invite the Lord to come. In the similar way, Mahaprabhu was coming to this world like a lion roaring. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the process Mahaprabhu brought is very simple. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, every problem of you is coming from your heart, because that is where the permanent emotion, the Sai Bhava is situated. And the Mukhya Rati and Gauna Rati, the Sai Bhava in your heart. And now the heart is contaminated due to different kinds of anarthas. And only way that you can be happy and peaceful in your life in this world, by cleansing the anarthas from your heart. And the simple cleaning process he given us is the Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Just chant of the holy name of the Lord. And because generally people in the world are very complicated, and they only believe when we give them some complicated process. That's why Prabhupada says very simple for the simple-minded people, is very complicated for the complicated. So here, how simple it is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Varanasi and he met the Mayavadi sannyasis there. And Mayavadi sannyasi were not very happy with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because being a sannyasi, he should not be singing and dancing like a sentimentalist in the street with others. So they had a different idea about how to conduct, a sannyasi life. So they were not very happy with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they were criticizing the devotees of the Lord there. And they had a great opportunity, fortune to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them, and the leader Prakasananda Saraswati says, Murka Sannyasi, he says that Murka Sannyasi Nijadharma Nahi Jani, Bahukera Haya Pere, Bahukare Sane. He says that Murka means a foolish. He says you must be a foolish sannyasi, not knowing the real essence of the Vedas. And Mahaprabhu, being a very humble Vaishnava, he showed us Vaishnava means what? He has to have a Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorhapi Saisnuna, Amanena Manadena Kirtanaya Sadahari. Always one can remain as a Vaishnava. He has got that humble attitude within themselves. And here when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu been called as a fool, Mahaprabhu did not fight with them. Mahaprabhu say, Amihai ina sampradaya. Amihai ina sampradaya. Toma sabara sabaya vasite na yuya. He says, I'm coming from a very humble background, very lower tradition. He said, I'm not qualified to seated among all of you. Prabhu kahe to me, Jagat Guru Pujetam Ami Tomara nahi Sishyare Sishya Sama. Mahaprabhu says, you are very great Acharya, very great devotee, and you are meant to be worshipped, in all over the world. But me, I'm not even as equal as your own disciples here. And the Prakasananda Saraswati, he said, that is okay, but I want to ask you one question. He said, Vedanta Padavadyana Sanyasare Dharma. Tahatadi Karakena Bahukera Karma. He says, the very work, the very nature of the sannyasi, very duty of the sannyasi is to sit and study the Vedanta. But why you are not studying the Vedas? Prabhu Dekhiya Tume Sakshat Narayana Inachara Karakena Iteke Karana. You look exactly like Narayana. But then Inachara means how come you are performing low-class activities? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu answered, Prabhu Kaye Suna Sripade Iyare Karana. Guru More Mukha Deki Karila Sasana. My Guru Maharaj says that I'm a fool. And he says that Murki Tumi Tomara Nahika Vedanta Kira. Krishna Mantra Japa Sada. A mantra Sara. My Guru Maharaj says, I'm a fool, number one. I won't be able to understand the Vedas. And he says, for that reason, always you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when he called me a fool, I have to agree that is true. That is what my Guru Maharaj told me. You cannot understand Vedanta. You cannot understand Veda. How any intelligent person can say that they are able to read and understand the Veda in Kali Yuga? Even at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, that Vyasadeva could foresee the upcoming of the Kali Yuga. Then he understands that it is not easy for people to understand this one Veda. Because why? Tata Chano Dina Dharma Satyam Saucham Samadaya Kalena Balina Rajan Ayur Balam Smriti. He knows that there are wonderful quality of the human being are going to be reduced day by day. And he knows that the degradation of the people of the world is going to come at the Kali Yuga. So when at the end of Dwapara Yuga, Vyasadeva could foresee that the effect of Kali Yuga is going to be very strong and people won't be understand that one Veda. So he divided the Vedas into four. He divided into Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda. And from that again he divided into four. It's called Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. And he created two supplementary Vedas called Veda Angas and Upaveda. The Veda Angas are the Kalpa, Siksha, Vyakarana, Nirukti, Chanda, and Jyotisha. And the Upavedas are the Ayurveda, the Gandharva Veda, Dhanurveda, and Shilpa Veda. And again, he could foresee it's not possible even for people to understand the Vedas. And he created the 18 Puranas, 6 for the mode of goodness, 6 for the mode of passionate, and 6 for the mode of ignorance. And the 6 Puranas for the mode of goodness are the Vishnu Purana, Varaha Purana, Garuda Purana, Narada Purana, Padma Purana, and the Bhagavata Purana. And the 6 Puranas in the mode of passionate are the Brahma Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Markandeya Purana, Bhavishya Purana, and the Vamana Purana. And the 6 Puranas in the mode of ignorance are the Linga Purana, Skanda Purana, Siva Purana, Agni Purana, Matsya Purana, and Kurma Purana. And even within these Puranas, if you see that the Vishnu Puranas has got 23,000 verses there. 23,000 slokas are there in the Vishnu Purana. And the Varaha Purana has got 24,000 verses. And the Garuda Purana has got 19,000 verses. And the Narada Purana has got 25,000 verses. Padma Purana has got 55,000 verses. And the Bhagavata Purana has got 18,000 verses. And the Brahma Purana has got 10,000 verses. Brahma Vaivarta Purana has got 18,000 verses. And Brahmanda Purana has got 12,000 verses. And the Markandeya Purana has got 9,000 verses. And Bhavishya Purana has got 14,500 verses. And the Vamana Purana has got 10,000 verses. And you go to the Linga Purana has got 11,000 verses. And Skanda Purana has got 81,100 verses. And the Shiva Purana has got 24,000 verses. And the Agni Purana has got 15,400 verses. And the Matsya Purana has got 14,000 verses. And the Kurma Purana has got 17,000 verses, altogether 400,000 verses. And how is it possible for the people in Kali Yuga to read the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, Adharva Veda, and Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyakas, and Upanishad, and again the Kalpa, Siksha, Vyakarana, Nirukti, Chanda, Jyotisha, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, Shilpa Veda, and understanding all those things. Say Bharata, Panchama Veda, you bring the 5th Veda to us. There is from the 23rd chapter till the 40th of the Bhishma Parva. That itself the Mahabharatam got Adi Parva, Sabha Parva, Vana Parva, Virada Parva, and Utyoga Parva, Bhisma Parva, Drona Parva, Karna Parva. And in this way, Salya Parva, Saushika Parva, Sri Parva, Shanti Parva, Asma Veda Parva, Asrama Vasika Parva. In this way, with all these so many kinds of divisions of the explanation of the Vedas, and how it is possible. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my Guru Maharaj says, it's not possible for you to understand Veda. And you are fool number 1, simply say Krishna mantra sada jappa. Always chant. He say Krishna mantra aite habe samsara mochana. Krishna mantra aite sabe Krishna charana. If you honestly chant, sincerely, truthfully, if you chant the holy name of Krishna, definitely you will be uplifted to the abode of Krishna, and you will be able to see Krishna face to face in your life. And Mahaprabhu told Praksananda Saraswati, he says that Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasti eva, nasti eva, nasti eva gatir anyataha. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way, other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord and holy name of the Lord. In this way, Mahaprabhu gave a very wonderful explanation to Praksananda Saraswati. And Praksananda Saraswati, he was very happy with the explanation of Mahaprabhu. But then Praksananda Saraswati asked Mahaprabhu, okay, that's all very nice to hear, but how come you are like a sentimentalist? Simply singing and dancing and rolling in the ground. What about this thing? You are like a crazy man, madman. And Mahaprabhu said the same question I've asked my Guru Maharaj Ishwara Puri. How come it makes me, like a crazy man? He says that, Kiba mantra dilo Goswami, Kiba tarabala, japite mantra, karile pagala. He said, my dear Guru Maharaj, I'm chanting the holy name, but it is making me like a madman. It is making me to dance and making me to roll on the ground and jump in the sky. And why it is happening? And my Guru Maharaj said, Nacho Gavo Bhakta Sangha Nama Sankirtana. Krishna Nama Upadesa Tara Sarvajana. My Guru Maharaj, this is the nature of the holy name. Everybody wants to be happy in their life. Everybody wants to sing and dance. And people are going to the cinema, people are going to the other thing. And when you talk about mad craziness, that people have become crazy to their laptop, people have become crazy to their WhatsApp, people have become crazy to their Facebook, people are crazy to all kinds of things. And my Guru Maharaj said this madness towards Krishna is the best thing could happen in your life. He said always chant the holy name of the Lord. And he says try to preach the glories of Krishna to every people you meet in your life. And that will make your life very successful. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trayo Veda Satangani Chandamsi Vivirasura Sarva Astak Charanchatam Yennatapi Manmayam Sarva Vedanda Sararada Samsara Navana Tarana. According to the Narada Pancharatirka Vidhi, it says that the whole Vedic knowledge contains in the chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is all the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, the Jnana Kanda section of the Vedas, and the Upasana section of the Vedas, all are contained within the 16 words of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. At the present moment, people are looking for some sort of release from all kinds of trouble and difficulties of the world. And it's not possible for them to come to solve any of this problem unless their heart are cleansed, unless their emotion becomes stable. And the stable emotions are called Sthāyi Bhava, Mukhya-rati and Gauna-rati. And it's only stays stable when a person connected in Krishna consciousness. That's what I said in the chapter 2, text 66, Nasti Buddhir Ayuktaksya, Na Chayuktaksya Bhavana, Na Chabhavayada Santir, Asantasya Kutasukam. That if a person is not connected in Krishna consciousness, he will never have the spiritual intelligence. Without spiritual intelligence, he cannot have a steady mind. Without steady mind, he cannot have a peace in his life. Without peace, there cannot be any happiness in their life. So the ultimate formula for people to solve their problem of life, the ultimate formula to have a peace and happiness in their life, somewhere or other they must be connected in Krishna consciousness. And that connection is very easy in Kali Yuga simply by the repetition of the 16 words of the Hare Krishna mantra. If you read the Chaitanya Mangal, you can see beautifully there's a story of a puppy dog. And Chaitanya Nimai, that time he brought a puppy dog to the house. And Sachimada says, why you bring the puppy dog is not, very good for us to bring. We are Brahmanas and we have got all these worships are going on in the house. And what people will talk about us. And Mahaprabhu said, no, I love the puppy dog so much. And Sachimada said, that means you don't love me. And Nimai says, no, I love the puppy dog and also love you, Mummy. And I want the both. And somewhere or other, Sachimata told Nimai to go and take his bath and come so that he can be ready for lunch. And Mahaprabhu, Nimai says, I'll go and take a bath, but meanwhile, you take care of my dog. When I come back, you, me, and dog, we can sit together and take lunch. And Sachimata agreed. When Nimai went to take bath and Sachimata, she untied the dog. The puppy dog went to the street. And somebody went and told Nimai, the dog you brought to the house, your mother has untied the dog, and the dog, has run away from your house. And Nimai Pandit, he came and asked the mother, and he was crying. And he simply dragged his mother to go and look for the puppy dog. And finally, they find the puppy dog, and the puppy dog in the street, and, he has got 4 legs, 2 legs on the ground, another 2 legs, raised on the air. And he was singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way that the puppy dog is having a wonderful Krishna conscious life. And suddenly they saw that there was a chariot coming from the spiritual world, from the Goloka. Swarnera Ratacharo, Sahasra, Shikara, Mani Muktara, Jarakare, Jalamala. and Ganta Ganta Laksha Laksha Ganta Dwani Aite Tahate Kamsa Kartala Tade Baja Yude Yude. And he says that, Shank Dwani, Jaya Dwani, Are Dwani, Suni, Gandharva, Kinnara, Gaya, Radha Krishna Vani. Beautifully, Lochanadas explained in the Chaitanya Mangal. He says that while the dog is singing and dancing and singing and dancing, there was a beautiful chariot was coming from the Goloka. And so much beautifully it was decorated with all kinds of a diamond and all kind of a precious jewels. And the chariot came and the dog left the present body. He went and into the chariot, and there was a beautiful asana, a sitting place, and he was seated there. And there were Gandharva Kinnaras, they were having a chamara fanning the so-called puppy dog. And everybody singing and dancing. And at the moment also they saw Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the demigods gathered, and they were praising. They have never seen anybody in the world who was just delivered like that. Even a puppy dog can be delivered in the world by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at the moment, the other people, they were talking, do you know about the puppy dog? Do you know about the puppy dog? Simple touch by the Nimai Pandit, simple touch. That the puppy dog has given up eating all kinds of food. The puppy dog is no more eating, the thrown food, is no more eating any bone or no more eating any meat. And he was only seeking for the prasadam. And the puppy dog is not, fighting with any other dog. Is no more bucking. And they said simply by this one simple touch of Nimai Pandit and chanting of the holy name, the puppy dog has transformed like a holy man. So in this way, Prabhupada says even a dog can transform in the world. What to talk about the human being? In this way, we have to understand that it is very simple process and very easy process. Simply by repetition of the 16 words of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That we will attain the highest goal in our life. Don't worry so much about what is going around the world. Every action, there is a reaction in the world. Sometimes people ask why these things are happening. Whose fault is that? Is it people's fault or God's fault? Especially at the present moment, people are talking about the pandemic. Actually, in the 18th chapter, text 13, Krishna says, Panchaitani Mahabhavo Karanani Vibodhame Sankhya Kirtani Proktani Siddhaye Sarva Karanam. Anything happen in anybody's life, there are 5 factors, there. There are 5 causes or reasons are there for the complete accomplishment of all the work in everybody's life. Because of these 5 things, that things are happening in our life. And the Lord says, Adhistanam tada karta karanam cha pridagvrita vividacha pratakcheta daivam chaivatva panchamam. There are 5 reasons there. Whatever happens in our life, nyayamba viparatimba, the Lord says, sariravan manobirva nyayamba viparatimba. Within your mind, within your words, or within your body, whether it is good or bad, whether it is justice or injustice, Krishna said there's only 5 reasons are involved in everybody's life. One is your body, another one is your soul, third is your senses, fourth is your action, and fifth is the Daivam. The Supreme Lord Krishna himself is the 5th chapter, 5th factors in our life. And if we can able to conduct our body properly, we are able to conduct our soul properly, we are able to conduct our senses properly, we are able to conduct our action properly, the Supreme Lord within our own heart, He will give the best perfection in our life. So we have nothing to blame anybody else around the world. We have to blame our own self. Then we have to understand all these problems of our life can be simply mitigated, can simply be taken away from us. Simply by the simple process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Subudi Roy came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, there are people have converted me. I do not know what to do. The Muslim has converted, Subudi Roy. And Subudi Roy says, I went to the Smarta Brahmanas and I told them that I've been converted. Please tell me what is the prayachita, atonement. And the Brahmana says, you take a hot ghee and drink the hot ghee. In another word, they say, you go and die. And Subudi Roy says, my dear Lord, I do not know what to do. I've been converted. Please tell me what to do. And Mahaprabhu say, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, you have given for any problem in your life. There's only one solution. There is only chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then when Mahaprabhu went to South India, and then he met the Kurma Brahmana family man, he saw that Mahaprabhu with all his associates, they're singing and dancing, they're very happy. But the Kurma Brahmana having so much of trouble in his life with the wife and children and work and everything. The moment he saw the happiness of the devotees of the Lord, and he came and he bowed down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, Mahaprabhu, please take me with you. I'm very miserable in my life. Mahaprabhu said, there is no requirement for you to leave the family and go wherever you are. Yare deke tare kaha Krishna upadesh amara agya hai guru tare desh. Stay with your family. Your problem is not your wife. Your problem is not your children. Your problem is not the work. Your problem is that you have forgotten Krishna in your life. Krishna bole se jiva anadir bahir mukha ataiva maya tare deha samsara dukha. Our whole problem in the world is that there's only because of one thing, that we have forgotten Krishna in our life. All the anarthas to everything, as I said before, why all have come into our heart, why we're having all kinds of trouble, because we have forgotten Krishna in our life. And Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunaya, only way that, to revive back our Krishna consciousness is to chant the holy name of the Lord and always keep the association of devotees. Finally, I would like to finish off to saying that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he was talking with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that samsara sarpa diste murchitanam kalauige ausadam bhagavan nama tasmad vaishnava sevanam. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says that there are only two things are very important in devotees' life. One is the chanting of the holy name. Another one is that tasmad vaishnava sevanam, always render service to Vaishnava. So these two things, always keep yourself in the association of the devotees and always chanting the holy name of the Lord. These two things, it is the ultimate essence of all the Vedas and scriptures and everything you have read, haven't read, and everything in the world is very easy and very simple. If we can keep these two things very properly in our life, take a good association of the devotees and always chant the holy name of the Lord and always remain humble in your life. And immediately you'll be able to see, not you go to Vaikuntha and see the happiness. Iya yasya arer dasya karmano manaso gira akila swapi tadasasto jivan muktana uchete. When your mind, when your words and your action in Krishna consciousness, jivan mukta means within the material world, you are a liberated person. You behave like one of the liberated person, that you become transcend the three modes of material nature. Everything is very possible and very easy and very simple if we have got a great faith. In the chapter 9, text 3, Krishna says, Astra dadana purusa dharmasya paranta papranam pratyati mrityu samsara. But if you don't have a faith in the path of devotion, you have to come back again. So everything is there. And the wonderful results are there. We have to have a great faith in the words of the Acharyas, especially Prabhupada. So stay in the ISKCON movement with the Prabhupada's, kind, divine, transcendental movement, and associate with the wonderful devotees and chant the holy name of the Lord. And this would be your last life in the miserable material world. And once you return to the spiritual world, you're not going to come back to the material world. Thank you so much for giving me this great opportunity, and my humble obeisances and Dandavad Pranam to all the devotees in today's program here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Jai
thank you
Sri
so much.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Got some car insurance.
some insurance from the driver whose fault it was. He got $10,000 and he wanted to give all of it to Prabhupada. But Prabhupada said, put $9,000 to my MVT. He said, give $9,000 to my Mayapur Vrindavan Trust Fund and keep $1,000 for your personal expenses. So Nrsimha Chaitanya Prabhu did that. But what we found very amazing as we were reading this letter, a few of us in his room after his departure, and we were waiting for all the legalities, and when a foreigner leaves the body, the FRO, embassy, police, so many people have to be involved and there's so much paperwork. So I was sitting there with the body for maybe 10, 11 hours, and we were reading over this letter, and here Prabhupada, despite Nrsimha Chaitanya's struggles throughout his life, Prabhupada brought him to MVT. And here in the last year, he became very regulated in devotional service, in chanting his rounds, in participating in the temple program, and then leaving his body very peacefully here in the MVT. So I wanted to share that with all of you, that even just a little bit of service can save one's life at the end. And at the end, you know, our only friend is really the chanting of Hare Krishna and the assembled devotees and our Lord's. And this is what Prabhupada is preparing us for. So in one way that we can prepare for our departures and the departures of others, and be able to give compassion to others who go through this journey with devotees, is to make an extra effort on these EKΑDAŞÍs to chant extra rounds. If we can all chant together today 25 rounds, and try to read from Srila Prabhupada's books, and possibly go on Vrindavan Parikrama. Even you can go by mind, or you can go on the YouTube. There's a very beautiful EKΑDAŞÍ Parikrama. So thank you, my dear devotees, for your compassion towards the departed Prabhupada disciples, one by one. We're all queuing up. And thank you for your prayers and support to help us in our old age to stay actively involved in Prabhupada's movement. So today we'll read the story of this EKADAŞÍ, and it begins like this. Sri Yudhisthira Maharaj said, O Madhusudan, O killer of the Madhu demon, please be merciful to me and describe to me the EKADAŞÍ that occurs during the light fortnight of the month of Shravan, July, August. So many pilgrims are coming in this month of Shravan to Vrindavan, and tonight, if you all can come over, we start our swing festival, the Julian Swing Festival for Radhashama Sundar, and it's a very joyful occasion. Also, you can go on Vrindavan TV. There'll be a beautiful Odissi dance commemorating the Swing Festival in our courtyard at the Krishna Balaram Mandir. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna replied, Yes, O King, I shall happily narrate its glories to you, for just by hearing about this sacred EKADAŞÍ, one attains the merit of performing a horse sacrifice. At the dawn of Dwarpa Yuga, there lived a king by the name of Mahijita, who ruled the kingdom of Mahishmati Puri. Because he had no son, his entire kingdom seemed utterly cheerless to him. A married man who has no son gains no happiness in this life or the next. The Sanskrit word for son is putra. Of course, we know that Srila Prabhupada has clarified this, that whether one has a son or a daughter, the main point is to raise them in Krishna consciousness and to give them as much information about Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, And then, of course, they'll make their own choices, but our business is simply to help our children, whether they're a son or whether they're a daughter, become devotees. Pu, Pu is the name of a particular hell, and Tra means to deliver, like mantra. Tra, the mantra, Maha Mantra, delivers the mind from the hellish condition of this material world. Therefore, every married man should produce at least one son or one daughter and train them properly in Krishna consciousness. Then the parents will be delivered from a hellish condition of life. But this injunction does not apply to the serious devotees of Lord Krishna, for the Lord becomes their son, father, and mother. So see, just as Prabhupada clarifies to all of us, it's about becoming Krishna conscious. Whether we're Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Sudra, it doesn't matter what our material status in life is. But what matters is that we take up this process of bhakti and purify our hearts and develop love for Krishna. This is what the whole point of Krishna consciousness is. And if we're trying to love Krishna, then we can love others. And this is what Krishna wants. He wants us to love each other, love his devotees. Furthermore, Chanaka Pandit says, I'm not very good with the Sanskrit, so Satyam Mata Pita Jnanam Dharma Brata Daya Sakha Santi Patni Shama Putra Sadite Mama Vandava. Truth is my mother, knowledge is my father, my occupational duty is my brother, and kindness is my friend, tranquility is my wife, and forgiveness is my son and my daughter. These 6 are my family members. Among the 26 leading qualities of a devotee of the Lord, forgiveness is the topmost. This is something that as we grow older, we find that we have to truly and genuinely forgive those from the past that possibly caused us difficulties or presented obstacles. Even as we're young, we find sometimes this happens, that happens, and at the bottom of the process of Krishna consciousness, we see that forgiveness really helps us to move on and move through such difficulties. Therefore, devotees should make an extra endeavor to develop this quality of forgiveness. Here Chanaka Pandit says, forgiveness is my son or my daughter, and thus a devotee of the Lord, even though he may be on the path of renunciation, may observe this EKΑDAŞީ and pray to attain this kind of child, if so wants. Not that we have to have a child to complete our Krishna consciousness, but if one is in the Grihastha life and wants a child, let's pray for devotees. Let's pray that devotees will come to this world to push on Prabhupada's mission even after we all depart and leave this world. For a long time, this king tried very hard to obtain an heir, but to no avail. Seeing his years advancing ever onwards, King Mahijita became increasingly anxious. One day, he told an assembly of his advisors, I have committed no sin in this life, and there is no ill-gotten wealth in my treasury. I have never usurped the offerings to the demigods, or Brahmins. When I waged war and conquered kingdoms, I followed the rules and regulations of the military art, and I have protected my subjects as if they were my own children. I punished even my own relatives if they broke the law, and if my enemy was gentle and religious, I welcomed him. O twice-born souls, I am a religious and faithful follower of the Vedic standards, and still my home is without a son. Kindly tell me the reason for this. Hearing this, the king's Brahmana advisors discussed the subject among themselves, and with the aim of benefiting the king, they visited the various ashrams of the great sages. At last they came upon a sage who was austere, pure, and self-satisfied, and who was strictly observing a vow of fasting. His senses were completely under control. He had conquered his anger, and he was expert at performing his occupational duties. Indeed, this great sage was expert in all the conclusions of the Vedas, and he had extended his lifespan to that of Lord Brahma himself. His name was Lomasha-rishi, and he knew past, present, and future. After each kalpa passed, one hair would fall out of his body. One kalpa, or 12 hours of Lord Brahma, equals 4,320,000,000 years. Inconceivable. All the king's Brahmana advisors very happily approached him, one by one, to offer their humble respects. Captivated by this great soul, King Mahijita's advisors offered obeisances to him and said very respectfully, "Only because of our great good fortune, O sage, have we been allowed to see you." And of course, this is how we feel about Srila Prabhupada. Somehow or another, due to maybe some pious activity in a previous life, we were able to see His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And all of you also get to see Srila Prabhupada due to the wonderful services of those who captured him in video and lectures. I'm finding during this time of recovering from the loss of my dear godbrother that hearing Prabhupada's lectures is such a solace to the heart, just hearing Prabhupada's voice and his words. So I encourage all of you also to see these videos of Srila Prabhupada and to hear his lectures. Lomasha-rishi saw them bowing down to him and replied, "Kindly let me know why you have come here. Why are you praising me?" You see how great sages, they never look for praise, as we heard from Srila Prabhupada, always taking the humble position. "I must do all I can to solve your problems, for sages like me have only one interest, to help others. Do not doubt this." Lomasha-rishi had all good qualities because he was a devotee of the Lord. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12. You can all chant with me if you know the verse. Yashati bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunaistatra samasate sura arava bhaktasya kuto mahajuna manoratena sati davato bahi. I'm sure you chanted it much nicer than I did. And so, as we know, the beautiful translation to that verse, in one who has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, and of course we see this in Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Lord has no good qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. The king's representative said, "We have come to you, O exalted sage, to ask you for your help in solving a very serious problem. O sage, you are like Lord Brahma. Indeed, there is no better sage in the entire world. Our king, Mahijita, is without a son, though he has sustained and protected us as if we were his sons. Seeing him so unhappy on account of being sonless, we have become very sad, O sage, and therefore we have entered the forest to perform severe austerities. By our good fortune, we happened upon you. Everyone's desires and activities become successful just by your darshan. Thus we humbly ask that you tell us how our kind king can obtain a son." Hearing their sincere plea, Lomasha Rishi absorbed himself in deep meditation for just a moment and at once understood the king's previous life. Then he said, "Your ruler was a merchant in his past life, and feeling his wealth insufficient, he committed sinful deeds. He traveled to many villages to trade his goods. Once, at noon on the day after the EKΑDAŞީ that comes during the light fortnight of the moon of Jyestha, he became thirsty while traveling from place to place. He came upon a beautiful pond on the outskirts of a village. But just as he was about to drink at the pond, a cow arrived there with her newborn calf. These two creatures were also very thirsty because of the heat. But when the cow and calf started to drink, the merchant rudely shoved them aside and selfishly slaked his own thirst. In other words, satisfied his own thirst. It's very, very hot in Vrindavan right now. So you can imagine if you're so thirsty and someone's in front of you, do you let that person drink or do you shove them to the side? Of course, we would all let that person drink first, wouldn't we? And hearing about the pond, it reminds me of when the Yaksha was asking the Pandavas, what is the most wonderful thing, or what is the most greatest thing? And none of the other Pandavas could answer properly, but what did Maharaj Yudhisthira say? That death is all around us, and yet we feel we're not going to die. So again, we get some reminder of how this life is very short, and that we must adhere to the principles of bhakti to the best of our ability, and keep our minds always hearing about Krishna and our senses engaged in devotional service. This offense against a cow and her calf has resulted in your king's being without a son now. But the good deeds he performed in his previous life have given him rulership over an undisturbed kingdom." Hearing this, the king's advisors replied, "O renowned Rishi, we have heard that the Vedas say one can nullify the effects of one's past sins by acquiring merit. Be so kind as to give us some instruction by which our king's sins can be destroyed. Please give him your mercy, so that a prince will take birth in his family. Loma Sharishi said, there is an EKÀDAŞÍ called Putrada, which comes during the light fortnight of the month of Śravana, which is today. On this day, all of you, including your king, should fast and stay awake all night, strictly following the rules and regulations. Then you should give the king whatever merit you gain by this fast. So in our EKÀDAŞÍ fast that Srila Prabhupada has given us, fasting from grains and beans, chanting 25 rounds, engaging in helping others, serving other Vaishnavas on this day, giving in charity, and especially reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, hearing about Krishna, we can offer this vrat that we do today for the benefit of somebody else. Someone who's possibly suffering or having some difficulty. We all know somebody like that, don't we? And what's very wonderful, as I explained a few EKADASHIs ago, that if we offer this kind of vrat for someone else, we automatically get the benefit. So that's a very wonderful result of engaging in devotional service. Then you should give the king whatever merit you gain by this fast. If you follow these instructions of mine, he will surely be blessed with a fine son. All the king's advisors became very pleased to hear these words from Loma Sharishi, and they all offered him their grateful obeisances. Then their eyes brushy, and under their direction, all the citizens of Mahishmati Puri, as well as the king, fasted on this EKADASHÍ. And on the next day, Dwadasi, the citizens dutifully offered their accrued merit to him. So we can do that too. We can also offer the accrued merit of our EKADASHÍ vrat today to someone else. By the strength of all this merit, the queen became pregnant and eventually gave birth to a most beautiful son. O Yudhisthira, Lord Krishna concluded, the EKADASHÍ that comes during the light fortnight of the month of Śravana has thus rightfully become famous as Putrada, bestower of a son. Harinam party. Whoever desires happiness in this world and the next should certainly fast from all grains and beans on this holy day. Indeed, whoever simply hears the glories of Putrada EKADASHÍ become completely free of all sins, is blessed with a good son or a good devotee, and surely ascends to heaven after death. Thus ends the narration of the glories of Shravan Shukla EKADASHÍ, or Putrada EKADASHÍ, from the Bhavishya Purana. So if one is aspiring to have a child, bring a devotee into this world, then this is a famous EKADASHÍ to follow today, to invoke such a soul to enter into this world, and so that we can engage them in devotional service, and we can flood the world with Vaishnavis and Vaishnavas to carry on the mission of Lord Chaitanya, which of course is chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today I thought we could read the Nectar of Devotion, and I've been going over the qualities of Sri Krishna, and I'd like to share some of those with you. Need to put a little light on the subject. So Krishna has how many beautiful qualities? 64, right. So the first one is beautiful bodily features. Let's see if I can position this light so I can see better. Beautiful bodily features. Any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Ordinary persons who cannot understand how exalted are the bodily features of the Lord are simply given a chance to understand by a material comparison. It is said that Krishna's face is as beautiful as the moon. His thighs are powerful, just like the trunks of elephants. His arms are just like 2 pillars. His palms are expanded like lotus flowers. His chest is just like a doorway. His hips are dens, and the middle of his body is a terrace. Devotees have asked different parikrama guides, especially our dear Dinabandhu, how is it that Krishna and his associates could go from one place to the next when seemingly here in Braj, when we go on parikrama, they're very far away. But it's been described that Braj is like a lotus flower, and so can open and close and open according to Krishna's will and according to his divine pastimes. Very inconceivable. That's why we constantly need to read from Srila Prabhupada's books to help us to understand this Vrindavan, this Braj, and the qualities of Krishna and his associates. Number 2, auspicious characteristics. There are certain characteristics of different limbs which are considered to be very auspicious and are fully present in the body of the Lord. In this connection, one friend of Nanda Maharaj, speaking about Lord Krishna's auspicious bodily symptoms, said, "My dear king of the cowherds, I can find 32 auspicious symptoms on the body of your son." Just wanted to show you this nectar devotion. Generally, when Lord Krishna appears, he does so in a family of Kshatriyas, as did Lord Ramachandra, and sometimes in a family of Brahmanas. But Krishna accepted the role of son to Maharaj Nanda, despite the fact that Nanda belonged to the Vaishya community. The business of the Vaishya community is trade, commerce, and the protection of cows. Therefore, his friend, who may have been born into a Brahmana family, expressed his wonder at how such an exalted child could take birth in a family of Vaishyas. Anyway, he pointed out the auspicious signs on the body of Krishna to the boy's foster father. He continued, "This boy has a reddish luster in 7 places." Does anyone know all 7? Okay, his lotus eyes, the ends of his lotus hands, the ends of his lotus legs, his palate, his lips, his tongue, and his nails. A reddish luster in these 7 places is considered to be very auspicious. 3 parts of his body are very broad: his waist, forehead, and chest. 3 parts of his body are short: his neck, thighs, and genitals. 3 parts of his body are very deep: his voice, intelligence, and navel. There is highness in 5 parts of his body. In 5 parts of his body there is fineness: his his skin, the hairs on his head, and on the other parts of his body, his teeth and his fingertips. The aggregate of all these bodily features is manifest only in the bodies of great personalities. The fate lines on the palm are also considered to be auspicious bodily symptoms. In this connection, one old gopi informed King Nanda, "Your son possesses various wonderful fate lines on his palms. There are the signs of lotus flowers and wheels on his palms, and on his soles there are the signs of a flag, a thunderbolt, a fish, a rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower. Please observe how auspicious these signs are." Amazing what Srila Prabhupada has given us, translated this beautiful Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Nectar Devotion from Srila Rupa Goswami. No one on the planet has given us such knowledge about God, about Krishna. Pleasing. Number 3, pleasing. Beautiful bodily features which automatically attract the eyes are called ruchira, or pleasing. Krishna possesses this attractive feature of ruchira in his personal features. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his pleasing dress, appeared at the scene of the sacrificial arena, where King Yudhisthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. All important personalities from different parts of the universe had been invited to the sacrificial arena, and all of them, upon beholding Krishna there, considered that the Creator had ended all of his craftsmanship in the creation of this particular body of Krishna. You can go on Vrindavan TV today and see just how beautiful Nitai Gaur, Krishna Balaram, Radhe Shyam, so beautiful today and getting ready for their swing festival this evening. It is said, by the way, you can come and swing also just by, going on the Vrindavan TV. If you don't happen to be nearby one of Prabhupada's temples, then we're so fortunate that this technology has been utilized in devotional service to give access to people all over the world to come into Prabhupada's temple and participate in the Julian Yatra. It is said that the transcendental body of Krishna resembles the lotus flower in 8 parts, namely his face, his 2 eyes, his 2 hands, his navel, and his 2 lotus feet. The gopis and the inhabitants of Vrindavan used to see the luster of lotus flowers everywhere, and they could hardly withdraw their eyes from such a vision. Number 4, effulgence. The effulgence pervading the universe is considered to be the rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The supreme abode of Krishna is always throwing off the effulgence, known as the Brahmajyoti. And this effulgence is emanating from Krishna's body. The luster of the hosts of jewels fixed on the chest of the Lord can defeat even the luster of the sun, and still, when compared with the bodily luster of the Lord, that crest of jewels appears to be only as bright as one of the stars in the sky. Therefore, the transcendental influence of Krishna is so great that it can defeat anyone. When Krishna was present in the sacrificial arena of his enemy King Kamsa, the wrestlers present, although appreciating the softness of the body of Sri Krishna, were afraid. Little difficult technicality there. So, how was the end of that? When Krishna was present in the sacrificial arena of his enemy King Kamsa, the wrestlers present, although appreciating the softness of the body of Lord Krishna, were afraid and perturbed when they thought of engaging with him in battle. Number 5, strong. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? I am the strength of the strong. So when we're going through difficulties or sometimes sad situations where even sometimes our intelligence, of course, understands philosophically, but our heart maybe hasn't caught up yet. So we can remember that Krishna gives us strength when we're feeling a bit weak. And as Prabhupada says, we can always go in front of the Lord and pray to our Lords, who are our best friends, who are always there for us, even when nobody else is there to give compassion or to give help to us. Always Krishna and Prabhupada are there for us. Our Guru is always there for us. And these books offer so much solace, because they remind us that everything that we're looking for in the material world can be satisfied within the heart simply by hearing about Krishna and praying to him. A person who has extraordinary bodily strength is called Baliyan or Balyan. When Krishna killed Aristasura, some of the gopis said, "My dear friends, just see how Krishna has killed Aristasura. Although he was stronger than a mountain, Krishna plucked him up just like a piece of cotton and threw him away without any difficulty." There is another passage wherein it is said, "Oh, my dear devotees of Lord Krishna, may the left hand of Lord Krishna, which has lifted Govardhan Hill like a ball, save you from all dangers." It's been described that why didn't Krishna lift the Govardhan Hill with the right hand? Because he wanted to prove to Lord Indra that this is a very insignificant task, to lift the Govardhan Hill from the inundation of the rain, and there was ice falling and thunder. But still, Krishna could lift the whole Govardhan Hill with all the cows and the trees and all the lakes and the kunds, simply with the little finger of his left hand. Krishna can do anything, and he can do anything for us if we simply engage in devotional service and cry out to him, especially in times of difficulty. Ever youthful. Number 6, ever youthful. Krishna is beautiful at his different ages, namely his childhood, his boyhood, and his youth. Out of these 3, his youth is the reservoir of all pleasures. and is the time when the highest varieties of devotional service are acceptable. At that age, Krishna is full with all transcendental qualities and is engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, devotees have accepted the beginning of his youth as the most attractive feature in ecstatic love. As we know, Kartik is coming, so we'll be chanting the beautiful Damodarastaka prayers every evening throughout the day, glorifying Krishna's transcendental childhood pastimes. At this age, Krishna is described as follows. The force of Krishna's youth was combined with his beautiful smile, which defeated even the beauty of the full moon. He was always nicely dressed, in beauty surpassing even Cupid, and he was always attracting the minds of the gopis, who were thereby always feeling pleasure. Sometimes when my dear godbrother Nrsimha Chaitanya, he's feeling so much confusion, you might say. So I take him into the temple room and sit him under the tamal tree and just tell him to look at the beautiful forms of the Lord. And the beautiful forms of the Lord, beautiful Krishna, looking at us also. Darshan doesn't just mean taking the mercy of the Lord, but also accepting the mercy of the Lord. Krishna is saying, oh, who's come to see me today? Who's come to notice what I'm wearing, what size of the flute? You know, Krishna has many different sizes of his flute. Oh, what is Radharani? The beautiful garland she has in her hand that she's offering to her beloved Shyam. And look at Nitai Gaur playing the kartals. You know, they put kartals in Nitai Gaur's hand sometimes here. And of course our Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So whenever the heart is feeling a little low, you can always go in front of the Lords. Your own Lords in your own home, or the Lords in one of Prabhupada's temples, and let your heart just feel the mercy of the Lord's glances, of his divine glances. So here we go with number 7, a wonderful linguist. Rupa Goswami says that a person who knows the languages of different countries, especially the Sanskrit language, which is spoken in the cities of the demigods, as well as other worldly languages, including those of the animals, is called a wonderful linguist. It appears from this statement that Krishna can also speak and understand the language of the animals. Remember, we saw this with Srila Prabhupada too. There's a pastime that's described when he was at the Radha Damodar temple. And Jamuna, our dear Jamuna, who's also left this world, she was observing Prabhupada speaking to this mother monkey who was going crazy because her baby monkey got caught inside the room there. And then somehow another Prabhupada encouraged the baby monkey to go out, and she literally saw Prabhupada engaging in some conversation with that mother monkey. And we see this also in Vrindavan. We talk to the cows, and we feel that they are actually understanding what we're saying, and there's an exchange of love between the cows of Vrindavan and ourselves, our lowly selves. An old woman in Vrindavan, present at the time of Krishna's pastimes, once stated in surprise, how wonderful it is that Krishna, who owns the hearts of all the young girls of Vrindavan, can nicely speak the language of Brajabhumi with the gopis, while in Sanskrit he speaks with the demigods, and in the language heard from the gopis as to how Krishna had become so expert in speaking so many different types of languages. Let me just turn this down a little. Sorry, a little technical difficulty there. Okay, so let's get set up again. Oops! You wouldn't believe my little setup here. Okay, so number 8 is truthful. A person whose word of honor is never broken is called truthful. Wow, that's something that we all know. Srila Prabhupada, whatever he said was the absolute truth. And we also can become more honest with ourselves and with others. And if we have the opportunity to give our word to someone, let's work on following through. Krishna once promised Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, that he would bring her 5 sons back from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After the battle was finished, when all the Pandavas had come home, Kunti praised Krishna because his promise was so nicely fulfilled. She said, "Even the sunshine may one day become cool, and the moonshine one day become hot, but still your promise will not fail." Similarly, when Krishna, along with Bhima and Arjuna, went to challenge Jarasandha, he plainly told Jarasandha that he was the eternal Krishna, present along with 2 of the Pandavas. The story is, both Krishna and the Pandavas, in this case Bhima and Arjuna, were Kshatriyas. Jarasandha was also a Kshatriya and was very charitable toward the Brahmanas. Thus Krishna, who had planned to fight with Jarasandha, went to him with Bhima and Arjuna in the dress of Brahmins. Jarasandha, being very charitable toward the Brahmins, asked them what they wanted, and they expressed their desire to fight with him. Then Krishna, dressed as a Brahmin, declared himself to be the same Krishna who was the king's eternal enemy. Number 9, Krishna is a pleasing talker. A person who can speak sweetly, even with his enemy, just to pacify him, is called a pleasing talker. Krishna was such a pleasing talker that after defeating his enemy Kaliya in the water of the Jamuna, he said, "My dear king of the snakes, although I have given you so much pain, please do not be dissatisfied with me. It is my duty to protect these cows, which are worshipped even by the demigods. Only in order to save them from the danger of your presence have I been obliged to banish you from this place." Kaliya was residing within the water of the Jamuna, and as a result, the back portion of the river had become poisoned. Thus, so many cows who had drunk the water had died. Therefore, Krishna, even though he was only 4 or 5 years old, dipped himself into the water, punished Kaliya very severely, and then asked him to leave the place and go elsewhere. If you've ever been on Vrindavan Parikrama, which I'm sure many of you have, there's a beautiful, beautiful Kadamba tree. And this is actually the Kadamba tree that Krishna jumped off of to chastise Kaliya. And there's a big lotus footprint in the Kadamba tree. And this tree is actually hollow inside. Many people have come and noted that how is this the tree is flourishing, so beautiful, so big and tall, and so many green leaves, and so strong. When you hug this kadamba tree, very strong and gives you so much solace. So we go to this kadamba tree today. We'll be going to this kadamba tree and praying at the lotus feet of kadamba to help us to become sincere devotees of Krishna. Krishna said at that time that the cows are worshipped even by the demigods, and he particularly demonstrated how to protect the cows. At least people who are in Krishna consciousness should follow in his footsteps and give all protection to the cows. Cows are worshipped not only by the demigods. Krishna himself worshipped the cows on several occasions, especially on the days of Gopastami and Govardhan Puj. Very, very big days here in Vrindavan. We go to the Goshala. The cows are all decorated with bells on their what do you call their feet. I want to say feet, but it's not their feet. That completely went out of my mind. Hooves. Their hooves, their lotus hooves. And we do artik, and there's these big, huge balls of gur and different ingredients, and you feed all the cows and the bulls. And then, of course, on Govardhan Puja, we also worship the cows. And every day, our Bhaktivedanta Goswala and the Care for Cows, if you ever get the opportunity to go there and just spend time with the cows, very wonderful and nurturing, and these cows have very special divine qualities that we get to serve, and that also give us back such nurturing. And even on the Vrindavan Parikrama, we see many cows, and many of us, we carry little bags of biscuits or burnt toast or anything that we can randomly feed the cows along the way of our Vrindavan Parikrama. Number 10, fluent. A person who can speak meaningful words and with all politeness and good qualities is called bhavaduka, or fluent. There is a nice statement in Srimad Bhagavatam regarding Krishna speaking politely. When Krishna politely bade his father Nanda Maharaj to stop the ritualistic offering of sacrifice to the rain god Indra, a wife of one village cowherd man became captivated. She later thus described the speaking of Krishna to her friends. Krishna was speaking to his father so politely and gently that it was as if he were pouring nectar into the ears of all present there. After hearing such sweet words from Krishna, who will not be attracted to him? So it's now 8:30, my dear devotees, and I encourage you today to engage in your EKÀDAŞީ Vrat and spend more time chanting than talking, more time reading, and if you can, find it in your heart to offer your EKÀDAŞީ Vrat for someone else who is possibly struggling, suffering. There's so many devotees in our midst that are going through different things, and we automatically will experience the wonderful love that Krishna is constantly giving us by engaging in devotional service. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the acharyas in our disciplic succession, all glories to all of our lords, and all glories to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.